and see if there's any change. However, the learning point here was realising the precision required. The lock was giving up its combination, I just wasn't looking closely enough. To give an idea what I'm talking about, the dial is split into 100 numbers. Now imagine that each of these intervals is split into 8 or even 10 parts. To detect when one of the discs is in the correct position, you'd have to detect an eighth of an interval difference on the contact points. That's the level of precision needed. That sounds crazy, but if you spend all day with this, you start to get a feel for it. So I redid it all over again, this time taking an extra close look. I went all the way around the dial again, and now I'm convinced that the second number is not 18, but it's actually 31. Now it's a case of just going through all possibilities of the last number, that's 0 to 99, and hopefully this will just open. 60, 63, 70, 73, 76. Oh, what was that? Yes! Yes! That took me all bloody day. Hey, if you enjoy this sort of thing and puzzles, then I think you'll like my Rubik's Cube class that I teach on Skillshare. I guarantee that you'll be able to solve a cube on day one with this class. Like all classes on Skillshare, it's concise, divided into chapters, has no ads, and has supporting documents that you can print off to help you learn. While you're there, take a browse around at the plethora of professional classes on Skillshare, covering a huge range of topics. No crappy audio, no shaky cameras, just competent teachers. A couple of classes I'd recommend are Thomas Frank's productivity class, just look at those reviews, and this class about Illustrator on the iPad. I also teach a guitar class for beginners, if that's more your thing, but there's marketing, music, graphic design classes, the list goes on. Usually Skillshare is less than $10 a month with an annual subscription. And since Skillshare are sponsoring the show, the first 1,000 of my viewers can get a free trial of Skillshare Premium. Just check the link below. And thank you very much for watching.
Has anyone ever told you, stand up straight, or scolded you for slouching at a family dinner? Comments like that might be annoying, but they're not wrong. Your posture, the way you hold your body when you're sitting or standing, is the foundation for every movement your body makes, and can determine how well your body adapts to the stresses on it. These stresses can be things like carrying weight or sitting in an awkward position, and the big one we all experience all day, every day, gravity. If your posture isn't optimal, your muscles have to work harder to keep you upright and balanced. Some muscles will become tight and inflexible. Others will be inhibited. Over time, these dysfunctional adaptations impair your body's ability to deal with the forces on it. Poor posture inflicts extra wear and tear on your joints and ligaments, increases the likelihood of accidents, and makes some organs, like your lungs, less efficient. Researchers have linked poor posture to scoliosis, tension headaches, and back pain, though it isn't the exclusive cause of any of them. Posture can even influence your emotional state and your sensitivity to pain. So there are a lot of reasons to aim for good posture. But it's getting harder these days. Sitting in an awkward position for a long time can promote poor posture, and so can using computers or mobile devices, which encourage you to look downward. Many studies suggest that, on average, posture is getting worse. So what does good posture look like? When you look at the spine from the front or the back, all 33 vertebrae should appear stacked in a straight line. From the side, the spine should have 3 curves, one at your neck, one at your shoulders, and one at the small of your back. You aren't born with this S-shaped spine. Baby spines just have one curve, like a C. The other curves usually develop by 12 to 18 months as the muscles strengthen. These curves help us stay upright and absorb some of the stress from activities like walking and jumping. If they are aligned properly, when you're standing up, you should be able to draw a straight line from a point just in front of your shoulders to behind your hip, to the front of your knee, to a few inches in front of your ankle. This keeps your center of gravity directly over your base of support, which allows you to move efficiently with the least amount of fatigue and muscle strain. If you're sitting, your neck should be vertical, not tilted forward. Your shoulders should be relaxed, with your arms close to your trunk. Your knees should be at a right angle, with your feet flat on the floor. But what if your posture isn't that great? Try redesigning your environment. Adjust your screen so it's at or slightly below eye level. Make sure all parts of your body, like your elbows and wrists, are supported, using ergonomic aids if you need to. Try sleeping on your side, with your neck supported, and with a pillow between your legs. Wear shoes with low heels and good arch support, and use a headset for phone calls. It's also not enough to just have good posture. Keeping your muscles and joints moving is extremely important. In fact, being stationary for long periods with good posture can be worse than regular movement with bad posture. When you do move, move smartly. Keep anything you're carrying close to your body. Backpacks should be in contact with your back, carried symmetrically. If you sit a lot, get up and move around on occasion. And be sure to exercise. Using your muscles will keep them strong enough to support you effectively, on top of all the other benefits to your joints, bones, brain, and heart. And if you're really worried, check with a physical therapist. Because yes, you really should stand up straight.
When serious illnesses take us to hospitals, we look to doctors for answers. But what happens when there are no more cures?
Do you want to call her daughter?
Zara Cooper is an emergency surgeon with palliative care training at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston. She frequently must deal with patients surprised that they're nearing the end of life.
It's certain that everybody's going to die. There's no certainty as to when. Clear from the CT scan what's going on. And frequently, as an emergency surgeon, I'm meeting somebody for the first time, and they have no idea that they could die from their disease. Whether that's because nobody's told them or they're in denial, I don't know, but it's always a surprise.
Clyde Earle has been undergoing treatment for advanced cancer for a year. He's now suffering with intense pain. The prognosis is not good.
Well, you're in good hands here, Dr. Cooper.
I know.
Dr. Cooper wants to talk to Mr. Earle and his wife, Audrey, about what comes next.
The rumor has it you guys are newlyweds. Is that right? Huh?
Yeah.
That's great.
In March.
Now, what happened before you came into the hospital?
One morning, I had so much pain, I could not take it. I was in deep trouble.
Yeah.
With pain.
Yeah. What I discovered was that he and his wife had the expectation that he had many more months. So let me ask you, what do we expect to happen after you leave the hospital?
We're going fishing.
Okay.
We're going up to house in Maine.
Okay.
And then after Maine, we'll go back to the house in Florida.
Right.
Right. Now, has anybody talked to you about hospice or having hospice nurses take care of you, or is that part of the plan?
When and if we need it.
Right.
I know the procedure.
Yeah. When I said hospice, it was as if I was talking to somebody who only thought that hospice would be necessary when he was just about to die. My impression was that that was the goal, was to get him to hospice. I think the lesson learned is that you have to ask. You can't make those assumptions because oftentimes patients and their families aren't at all where you think they are and aren't at all where you think they should be.
But Zara Cooper had at least started a conversation about the end of life.
We are here to take care of you, okay? All right.
As Clyde Earle's condition worsens, Dr. Cooper brought in Kathy Salvaji, a senior palliative care physician whose expertise is in end-of-life care. She would now take up the hospice discussion.
She and I had a conversation about goals of care and
When Dr. Salvaji came down to the ICU to meet them, I said, you've got a lot of work to do. She said, I know.
that it was really important to take his wife aside and talk about what I was seeing.
Hi.
How are you?
Look at him ask a question like that.
I know. Clyde, good morning.
It's been like this.
I know you don't. It is a process. And I think it is very hard to come to the realization that you're dying. These are really important conversations that should not be waiting the last week of someone's life. I'm not sure I'm going to get him back to me.
We're not. Let's face the truth.
I don't think we are.
No.
I think he's going to be here with us.
Yeah, I know he is. I guess I was in my own world. Figuring everything fixed. In my heart, though, I knew better. I knew what was ahead. And I didn't share it with him.
It's those moments when people show that they want to talk about it. Once somebody gives you that kind of opening, in palliative care, we're trained to take that opening and to identify that as a moment where you can help somebody. Whereas I think the natural inclination is to say, we're going to get him better, and you're going to get him home because it makes you feel better.
Every major battle in Naruto. This series has no shortage of incredible, enormous battles, so today we're going to take a look at every single one of them. Welcome to the Amagi. In today's video, we're going to be going over every major battle in Naruto. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Attention Naruto fans! Before we begin today's video, we want to present this epic elite fandom statue by Figurama Collectors, which features Naruto's showdown against the great Akatsuki leader, Pain. This polystone statue stands tall in a 1/6 scale and comes with two swappable torsos for Naruto in his Sage mode and his normal Konoha ninja gear, and with two swappable portraits for Pain. We appreciate the attention to detail as the statue also features powerful allies, such as the two great Sage Toads Fukusaku and Shima, and Katsuyu. Fukusaku even has Jiraiya's secret code carved into his back. The statue base features the crumbled remnants of the Predapath Pain, which is made out of woodblock-style clouds meant to resemble the shape of the Akatsuki cloud symbol, which gives this high-end quality statue even more dynamic. If you don't want to miss out on this epic collectible, make sure to get it. Second Shinobi World War. The First Shinobi World War ended with an armistice treaty, but also left the 5 great shinobi countries seriously wounded. The treaty led to a period of First Shinobi World War. The First Shinobi World War, or simply the Shinobi World War, was the first major conflict to occur among the 5 great shinobi countries. The war's outbreak plunged the world into chaos not seen since the end of the Warring States period, for which reason there are very few records about the war. According to Onoki, the war was a result of countries and their hidden villages taking resources from other countries and other hidden villages. Madara Uchiha's demand that Iwagakure be subservient to Konohagakure is implied to be the first example of this. In the lead up to the war, Konoha's first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, distributed the tailed beasts to the other hidden villages, something that was discussed and agreed upon at the first ever Kage summit. Hashirama and his fellow Kage hoped that dividing the tailed beasts amongst their villages would create a power balance, thus establishing peace between them. Although this did bring end to smaller wars, conflicts of the era began to escalate, and Hashirama ultimately died in battle. His successor as Hokage, Tobirama Senju, attempted to continue Hashirama's pursuit of peace, but even his efforts could not stop the beginning of the First Shinobi World War. Tobirama would go on to die during the war, killed in battle with Kumogakure's Kinkaku force. He acted as a decoy so that his subordinates could escape. Before he died, Tobirama appointed one of his students, Hiruzen Sarutobi, to be the next Hokage. The war took a heavy toll on the 5 great shinobi countries, badly damaging each of them. In the end, an armistice treaty was signed, establishing 20 years of peace between them. The peace was ended by the start of the Second Shinobi World War. Combat tactics developed during the war would have the most lasting impact, with experiences from the war still shaping how ninja do battle in the modern era. After the war, Konoha established the memorial stone, upon which it engraved the names of all ninja to die in the village's service. Second Shinobi World War. The First Shinobi World War ended with an armistice treaty, but also left the 5 great shinobi countries seriously wounded. The treaty led to a period of peace, but after about 20 years, the economic disparity between the countries became a serious problem. The nations began to form factions, and under the pretext of expanding fair rights, the countries started using military force to expand their territories. Thus, a world war started. As with all wars, the Second Shinobi World War brought forth many heroes and took even more lives. It was during this time that the legendary Sannin rose to fame and received their nickname from Hanzo during a skirmish with Amegakure. Tsunade in particular became famous as the world's greatest medical nin while successfully countering all of Chiyo's poisons. Her ideas and skills revolutionized shinobi squads to include medical nin she trained personally, increasing mission success and survival rates, a system that remains in place in the present. She is thus cited as having made great contributions to Konoha's victory as well as the current system of all medical nin. It is also likely that this war is where Sakumo Hatake made his name as the Konoha's White Fang. On the other side, it was the war where Tsunade lost her lover, Don Kato, leaving her with an extreme case of hemophobia. It was also during this war that Sasori's parents died, an event that eventually made him leave the village and join Akatsuki. At the same time, Chiyo swore vengeance against Sakumo for killing Sasori's parents. It is also likely that it was during this war that Sakumo Hatake would fail a mission vital to Konoha's war effort. Subsequently, he was ostracized and ultimately committed suicide, an action that would shape his son's character for years. The Ame orphans lost their parents during this war, leading Jiraiya to take care of them for a while, claiming it was the least he could do. One of the orphans, Nagato, would come to desire an end to war because of his experiences from this war, a purpose he used Akatsuki for. Third Shinobi World War. The Third Shinobi World War was the third of the 4 shinobi wars that involved the majority of the shinobi villages. It took place more than 10 years prior to the beginning of the series. Because of a decline in national power, the reign of the 5 great shinobi countries was crumbling. Along their borders, skirmishes with smaller nations broke out all the time. The prolonged conflicts gradually spread their flames far and wide, until at last it developed into an all-out war. This conflict turned into an unprecedented war of attrition, tormenting all nations with a shortage of war potential. Not even excluding a great power like Konoha, very young children, some of whom were barely out of the academy, were thrown onto the battlefield, eventually losing their young lives during the war. Konohagakure and Iwagakure fought across Kusagakure after the latter had infiltrated it in order to lay siege to the border of the Land of Fire. It was not until the destruction of the Kanabi Bridge that the war began turning in Konoha's favor. Iwagakure was also known to have been fighting Kumogakure with various skirmishes between the two villages. Tsunagakure also participated in the war. Kumogakure was also seemingly a part of this war, with at least Konohagakure clashing with shinobi from this village, specifically Minato and A. This is also the war in which the 3rd Raikage died and the 4th Raikage was appointed. Kirigakure also partook in the war against Konohagakure and made Rin Nohara into the Jinchuriki of the Three Tails. Rin chose to die by Kakashi's hands rather than be used as a tool to destroy her own village. The Kiri shinobi were adamant in retrieving Rin's body and not allowing it to fall into enemy hands. Rin achieved this by letting herself be stabbed by Kakashi's Chidori, which not only stopped the Three Tails from being released but also resulted in Rin's death. Grief-stricken not died and the 4th Raikage was appointed. Kirigakure also partook in the war against Konohagakure and made Rin Nohara into the Jinchuriki of the Three Tails. Rin chose to die by Kakashi's hands rather than be used as a tool to destroy her own village. The Kiri shinobi were adamant in retrieving Rin's body and not allowing it to fall into enemy hands. Rin achieved this by letting herself be stabbed by Kakashi's Chidori, which not only stopped the Three Tails from being released but also resulted in Rin's death. Grief-stricken Obito Uchiha, who unbeknownst to his teammates had survived and was a witness to Rin's murder, massacred the Kiri shinobi by himself, despite their best attempts. Sometime after this, Madara Uchiha would pass away, but not before passing his plans on to Obito to fulfill until the time of his resurrection. Ao from Kirigakure also defeated a member of the Hyuga clan and took the member's Byakugan for his own right eye socket. The Battle of Kikyo Pass took place in this war. The war that swallowed up shinobi from every land came to an end after an armistice agreement between Konoha and Iwagakure, which were the principal aggressors of the war, was concluded. In Konoha, although the war had been proceeding favorably for the village, the 3rd Hokage established a policy of reconciliation to bring an end to the fighting with an unprecedented offer to not seek reparations from Iwa. Advocates for the war opposed Hiruzen's seemingly weak decision, and to keep dissatisfaction in the village in check, he decided to step down as Hokage. The Konoha shinobi that received the most attention for their war efforts in the village were the Sannin, and the surviving members of Team Minato. Out of the two teams, Minato, who was the key factor in the war that gained the moniker of Konoha's Yellow Flash alongside Orochimaru, were the only 2 candidates village officials put forward to succeed Hiruzen. Ultimately, it was Minato who became the 4th Hokage. Between Fugaku Uchiha not receiving praise for his work during the war, alongside his name not being put forth to become Hokage, members of the Uchiha clan came to despise the village officials. Itachi Uchiha was traumatized by the violence of the war and grew to seek peace at any cost because of it, an experience that would lead to the Uchiha clan downfall and prevent his clan triggering the 4th Shinobi World War. However, Obito Uchiha, who had been saved from death by Madara Uchiha during the war, eventually caused the next World War, after witnessing Rin Nohara die and taking on his savior's identity. In Tsunagakure, Sasori earned fame as Sasori of the Red Sand, due to his ingenious puppets dyeing the sand red with his enemy's blood. In Kirigakure, Ao gained a Byakugan from a Hyuga clan member he killed during the war, which in turn led to him being known as Byakugan Killer. In Konoha, Kakashi Hatake eventually gained fame throughout the Shinobi world as Copy Ninja Kakashi, after he gained a Sharingan from a dying Obito during their mission to destroy the Kanabi Bridge. In Iwagakure, the Jinchuriki of the Five Tails, Han, became known worldwide for his prowess with steam ninjutsu. In Amegakure, Yahiko, Nagato, Konin, and many other shinobi formed a group that eventually fought the rule of Hanzo. Initially, they were merely preaching for peace for Amegakure. They were supported and even invited to negotiate peace by Hanzo himself. After Danzo used his men's corpses to frame Akatsuki of murdering the village's shinobi, Hanzo came to fear that they were power-hungry and would usurp his power. He betrayed them and called for the assistance of Danzo and his root Anbu while holding Konin hostage. The confrontation between the two sides led to Yahiko committing suicide, choosing to do so as Yahiko did not want Nagato living with the memory of killing Yahiko. Left devastated by Yahiko's death, Nagato responded by summoning the demonic statue of the Utter Path, which subsequently slaughtered all of the Amegakure and root shinobi who had been instructed to kill Nagato. Nagato also attempted to kill Hanzo, who fled. This incident failed to suppress the group and led to a civil war, with Nagato becoming the new leader of Akatsuki. The resulting civil war split Amegakure and ultimately resulted in a complete and utter annihilation of Hanzo's faction, with Hanzo himself eventually dying at the hands of Pain. Battle of Kikyo Pass. The Battle of Kikyo Pass was a battle between Konohagakure shinobi and an unknown group. The battle took place at the end of the Third Shinobi World War. In the aftermath of the battle, it is said that a captain of the medic corps, Nono Yakushi, found a single survivor from amongst the dead enemies, a young Kabuto, and taught him basic medical ninjutsu. However, this story was actually fabricated by Orochimaru. The battle was first mentioned by Anko Mitarashi before the preliminaries of the 3rd exam in the Chunin exams, just after Kabuto announced that he would not battle. The Nine-Tailed Demon Fox's attack. The recently appointed Hokage, Minato Namikaze, was married to Kushina Uzumaki, the Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tails. When Kushina became pregnant and the birth of their son drew near, special precautions had to be taken due to the fact that the seal keeping the Nine-Tails within her would weaken during childbirth, thus carrying the risk it might escape. News of Kushina's pregnancy was kept a secret from the general population, and the delivery itself would take place in a remote cave away from the village. Minato's predecessor, Hiruzen Sarutobi, organized security. The site would be protected by a barrier, several Anbu would guard the area, and another Anbu, Taji, and Hiruzen's wife, Ryuko, would be midwives. Minato, meanwhile, would monitor the seal, keeping it stable during the delivery and restoring it to its original strength as soon as their son was born. Despite all the secrecy, news of Kushina's pregnancy was discovered by Tobi, who overheard it from Kakashi Hatake, Minato's student, when he spoke to Rin Nohara's grave at the Konoha cemetery. Tobi located where the birth was taking place, infiltrated the barrier, killed the envoy stationed outside, and arrived inside the cave mere moments after the child, Naruto, was born. Toby killed the midwives and took Naruto hostage, threatening to kill him if Minato attempted to restore the Nine-Tails seal. Minato was able to take Naruto back, only to discover explosive tags planted on him. Minato was forced to teleport away with the Flying Thunder God technique to keep Naruto safe, leaving Kushina behind with Toby. Toby moved Kushina to a new location and placed her under restraint while he took steps to further weaken the seal. As the seal was about to break, he used his Sharingan to enter Kushina's subconscious and placed the Nine-Tails under his control. The Nine-Tails was extracted, a process that Kushina survived due to her Uzumaki heritage. Toby attempted to have the Nine-Tails kill her, but Minato tracked them down in time to save her and escaped to a safe house where he left Naruto. Unconcerned by them, Toby led the Nine-Tails back to the village. Even before the Nine-Tails arrived in the village, some sensed its approach. The young Itachi Uchiha felt something ominous, and his infant brother Sasuke began to cry. Kakashi detected a change in the air as he spoke with Might Guy, though he did not know the cause.